South Korea's Gyeongju is in its final preparations to welcome the leaders of the 21 APEC member economies. A South Korea-US summit is scheduled for Wednesday, as well as a South Korea-China summit on Saturday. And U.S. President Donald Trump continues to send out love calls to North Korea leader Kim Jong-un for another meeting while in South Korea, at this time suggesting sanctions adjustment against the regime. Meanwhile, the economy here expanded 1.2% in the third quarter from the previous quarter, on the back of robust exports and rising private consumption. The government is now hopeful the economy will grow 1% this year. Curtains are up for the diplomatic super week in South Korea. Having returned home from the ASEAN-related summits, President Lee Jae-myung is now set to host the APEC leaders meeting in the southeastern city of Gyeongju. We go live to the International Media Center there, where our President Office correspondent Yoon Jung-min is standing by. Jung-min, how's the mood down in Gyeongju?
Dami, it's getting busy and preparations are complete here in Gyeongju, where the leaders of the 21 APEC member economies start gathering. President Lee Jae-myung arrived here this afternoon as host. The venue, accommodation, public transport, and the media center where I'm standing now are all set, and security is very tight, with just 3 days to go until the opening of the APEC leaders meeting on Friday. In this diplomatic super week, a series of meetings takes place leading up to the 2-day top-level talks, including the concluding senior officials meeting and APEC ministerial meeting. Under the theme of building a sustainable tomorrow, connect, innovate, and prosper, digital cooperation and bolstering regional supply chains will top the summit agenda. Eyes are on how South Korea can act as a bridge of cooperation and connection at a time of deep division and growing global uncertainties, and whether we can look forward to the Gyeongju Declaration. For President Lee, it's a major diplomatic event for a president who's just 5 months into his presidency and could be a testbed for his pragmatic diplomacy in the face of global protectionism and the U.S.-China rivalry.
Indeed, Jung-min, and tomorrow a high-stakes meeting will take place between President Lee Jae-myung and his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump. Tell us more.
You're right, Tammy. So when the two leaders, Presidents Lee and Trump, sit down here in Gyeongju, we expect the key agenda items to be addressed, including the allies' complicated trade deal. Korea and the U.S. agreed upon a framework trade deal in July to lower the Trump administration's tariffs, with Seoul pledging an investment package worth $350 billion. But key differences remain over how to organize the details. Washington reportedly demands that Seoul makes a significant portion of the investment in cash, which Seoul sees as unrealistic, given its significant impact on the economy. Another area of focus is security cooperation, including modernization of the alliance and the bilateral nuclear energy pact. But the deadlock in the trade talks could complicate any announcement related to security. The two sides have also been working to improve the visa system, following the controversial raid and detention of Korean workers last month at a Hyundai plant in the state of Georgia.
So, South Korea-U.S. summit on Wednesday. Jung-min, before I let you go, what other events should we be on the lookout for the week?
Right, Dami. So this week, President Lee will sit down with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping and Japan's new Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi. And aside from those bilaterals, attention is on a high-stakes meeting between U.S. President Trump and Chinese President Xi in Korea's port city of Busan, slated for Thursday. We will also have to see whether a meeting between Trump and North Korea's Kim Jong-un could coincide with the APEC event, up until which South Korean officials deem as less likely. Back to you, Dami.
All right, Jung-min, thanks for the coverage. That was our Yoon Jung-min live from the International Media Center down in Gyeongju. Now, in the meantime, U.S. President Donald Trump continues to make another meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un happen during his Asia trip, now signaling possible sanctions relief for the regime. But experts say it may not be enough to restart talks. Our Moon Hae-dan has the details.
U.S. President Donald Trump has, for the first time in his second term, raised the possibility of discussing sanctions relief with North Korea, a move seen as a signal to Kim Jong-un ahead of Trump's trip to South Korea for APEC. While en route to Japan on Monday, Trump remarked that he could revisit the trade-off that defined his first term's diplomacy, denuclearization in exchange for easing sanctions.
Well, we have sanctions. That's pretty big to start off with. I would say that's about as big as you get.
Experts say that Trump's latest remarks reflect a more flexible approach towards Pyongyang, while testing whether limited concessions could reopen the stalled dialogue.
Following his earlier remarks, effectively recognizing North Korea as a nuclear power, this new comment seems to further that stance. But since sanctions ultimately lie in Congress's hands, convincing lawmakers will be key.
While Trump's remarks may be aimed at rekindling dialogue, analysts say the landscape has changed drastically since 2019, when Kim offered to dismantle a nuclear complex in exchange for extensive sanctions relief during a summit with Trump. North Korea has since grown more self-reliant, tightening ties with Moscow and Beijing and developing resilience against sanctions.
Back in 2019 sanctions, relief was a key incentive for talks. But today, North Korea's priority is being recognized as a nuclear state, so easing sanctions alone won't be enough to bring Kim to the table.
Still, experts note that Trump's unpredictability and his personal rapport with Kim leave a small window of possibility.
Trump has been steadily escalating his conciliatory gestures and could unveil another major offer toward the end. So it's too early to rule out a surprise summit.
As Trump courts Pyongyang once again, questions remain over whether his deals can still resonate in a region where the balance of power and leverage has shifted. Moon Hae-dan, Arirang News.
In a show of trilateral cooperation, the top diplomats of Korea, the U.S. and Japan will meet on Wednesday ahead of the APEC leaders meeting. According to the Foreign Ministry on Tuesday, Minister Cho Hyun is set to hold talks with his U.S. and Japanese counterparts, Marco Rubio and Motegi Toshimitsu, who will be accompanying their respective leaders to the APEC host city of Gyeongju. With a trilateral summit unlikely to take place this week, the foreign ministers' meeting is expected to signal their will for continued cooperation, especially after the change of leadership in Japan and Motegi taking place. With APEC in Korea expected to stage more geopolitical issues over agendas for joint action, an intergovernmental organization based here in Seoul is emphasizing that cooperation can be found in climate cooperation. Our Oh Soo-young sat down with the GGGI's Director-General.
As trade tensions and regional rivalries overshadow multilateral initiatives, joint action for green sustainable development is one key area where global cooperation still holds hope. That's the message this week from Kim Sang-yeop, Director-General of the Global Green Growth Institute.
The coming APEC summit could be seen as a stage for big power or superpower competition, but GGGI is a platform for cooperation.
With sustainable growth at the heart of APEC discussions this week, GGGI is holding Global Green Growth Week in both Seoul and Gyeongju City. Since 2012, GGGI has helped dozens of member governments design policies and attract investment for low-carbon resilient growth, from adopting carbon markets and renewable energy to climate-smart technologies and green finance. These efforts are critical, especially as major donor governments cut back foreign aid budgets.
It's about partnership of like-minded countries. So in that regard, GGGI is doing a lot of things to encourage international cooperation by supporting mobilization of green finance, which is up to $15 billion so far. We are doing a lot of meaningful green projects together, more than 250.
Such initiatives are being shared this week in over 20 sessions, which include sustainable AI and innovation and a high-level dialogue on carbon markets in line with APEC's focus areas.
For example, early warning system for extreme weather, and then disaster management. And we even do monitoring seagrass as a carbon sink using AI and satellite. And AI is also helping us to manage power grid and renewable energy power generation. And more than anything else, now GGGI is focusing on developing AI-based, measurable, reportable, verifiable data system, which is about securing and then supporting much more credible data in a much more accelerated way.
This comes amid geopolitical tensions and nationalistic agendas that threaten joint initiatives, most visibly in the flagging momentum of the Paris Climate Agreement.
Paris Agreement is called a kind of constitution for humanity, for our sustainable future. But we still see the global temperature keeps rising, so ambition is not that great. So this is a time for us to move from commitment to real changes and real implementation.
While the mood for multilateralism is slipping, the very creation of GGGI shows how cooperation can prevail. In the late 2000s, Director-General Kim spearheaded its launch in the face of skepticism.
So when Korea announced its intention to make an international organization, not many people believed Korea could do that because Korea was regarded as a small country. But it was announced at the Copenhagen Climate Summit in 2009. But 3 years later, Korea launched a full-fledged international organization with 18 like-minded countries at the Rio Plus Summit in Brazil.
Global Green Growth Week will coincide with the APEC meeting in Gyeongju. So what kind of message do you hope to send to world leaders during that time, and what kind of outcomes do you hope to see?
When APEC was launched in 1989, I remember it was about cooperation after the Cold War. But now people are saying we are seeing new Cold War. But you can say that, but cooperation is always important. Look at the global challenges like AI, climate change, and the corona pandemic. It is requiring global cooperation and even global governance. And the main theme of this year's APEC Summit is a building sustainable future. For that, we need cooperation. So cooperation in this turbulent time is not an option, it's a must. And GGGI is here for that.
And since the late 2000s, you've been really driving those fundamental transitions for actual change. And thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
Now, the host city of APEC Gyeongju is ready to welcome APEC leaders under the highest security alert, the so-called Kapo emergency. Our Yunjin has the details.
Starting Tuesday, security has been raised to the highest level in Gyeongju, the host city of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. Ahead of the arrival of key world leaders for the meeting, riot police, armored vehicles, and anti-drone systems have been deployed. In and around the Pomun Tourist Complex, where the summit will be held and many leaders will be staying, police have activated the top Kapo alert, the highest police emergency level. Streets and sidewalks in the Pomun area have been blocked off with rows of barriers and checkpoints. Helicopters and the Army's armored vehicles are also on standby around leaders' lodgings and the Gyeongju APEC International Convention Center, which is the summit's main venue, where a full security checkpoint, tightly controlled and similar to those at airports, has also been installed at the entrance. At the Gyeongju Arts Center, where the CEO Summit event will be held, detection dogs have been deployed to check for any signs of explosive or dangerous goods. The airspace around the venue has been designated as a no-fly zone, with anti-drone and drone interception systems in place to guard against potential aerial threats. Police patrol cars will frequently travel around the summit venue areas, as they also escort diplomatic vehicles through various security road closures. Police are on high alert, as the National Police Agency said it has received 17 advance notifications of planned political rallies around the APEC site this week. During the week of the APEC summit, up to 19,000 personnel will be mobilized each day to ensure security across Gyeongju. 이은진, Arirang News.
And once the capital of the Silla Kingdom, Gyeongju is reviving its 1,000-year-old spirit ahead of APEC 2025 Korea. An exhibition there brings Silla's golden age to life, where arts, faith, and global exchange once thrived. Our Park Hyo-bin has more.
The host city of APEC 2025 Korea, Gyeongju was once the capital of the ancient Silla Kingdom that shaped Korea's golden age of art and culture. Now an exhibition titled Scent of Korea in Silla is underway at the Gyeongju Expo Seolgo Art Museum, bringing the spirit of Silla back to life.
Based on Silla's culture and history, this exhibition aims to share Korea's heritage with the world and shed new light on its historical value.
Upon entry, visitors are greeted by a 5-meter scroll of silver principal Buddha from Seokguram Grotto, flanked by Tabotap and Seokgatap, Korea's most iconic stone pagodas. Each piece is painted with real gold and silver, capturing the spiritual glow of the Silla era. In front, a black pond reflects both the artworks and the viewer, linking past, present, and future. Another section connects tradition with modernity through glass art. Some 250 recycled glass bottles symbolize both stability and Silla's long history of cultural exchange along the Silk Road.
I wanted to revive the shapes of Roman glass that once entered Silla through the Silk Road, using today's glassmaking techniques.
The highlight of the exhibition is the masterpiece by artist Park Dae-sung, the largest work of his 80-year career. Behind me is Korea Fantasy, a 12-meter-long painting that brings together Korea's most iconic symbols. Looking closely, it's filled with the essence of Korean heritage, from Hawaii masks to the smile of Silla, all set against a panoramic Korean landscape. Through these works, the exhibition reimagines Silla's flourishing era of culture, trade, and Buddhism, a reflection of how its legacy continues to breathe through the art of modern Korea. Park Hyo-bin, Arirang News, Gyeongju.
Preliminary data from the central bank shows that South Korea's real gross domestic product increased 1.2% in the third quarter of 2025 compared to the previous quarter. Now, this is the highest quarterly increase in 1 year and a half and 6 months. Our Park Jun-han tells us more.
The Bank of Korea reported on Tuesday that South Korea's real GDP grew 1.2% in the third quarter from the previous quarter, marking the strongest growth since the first quarter of 2024. Preliminary growth rates recorded 1.2% in the first quarter of 2024, before falling to minus 0.2% in the second quarter. Subsequently, both the third and fourth quarters in 2024 showed sluggish growth in the 0.1% range. The first quarter of 2025 also saw a setback with a decline of 0.2%. However, following a rebound in the second quarter, the third quarter maintained a growth rate of 1.2%, signaling a recovery trend. The bank attributed the recovery of private consumption and steady exports as key reasons for the strong growth.
The growth was mainly driven by solid exports of semiconductors, automobiles, and petroleum products, along with a sharp rise in private consumption supported by improved sentiment, livelihood recovery consumption coupons, and new product launches. Increased facility investment and a smaller decline in construction investment also contributed to GDP growth.
Compared to the same period last year, real GDP growth in the third quarter is projected to increase by 1.7%. Private consumption grew 1.3%, driven by spending on goods such as motor vehicles and services, including restaurants. Now, this is the highest level of private consumption growth in 3 years. For government consumption, it rose by 1.2%, mainly due to expenditure on goods and healthcare benefits. This is also the highest level of growth in 2 years and 9 months. However, construction investment shrank by 0.1%, primarily due to the continued decline in the industry. Real gross domestic income, which reflects trade-adjusted income, also increased by 0.7%. The central bank said it will closely monitor sectors such as automobiles, as exports to the U.S. have been declining due to tariffs, and will assess how they respond in the fourth quarter. It also highlighted the lingering impact of consumption coupons and uncertainties in construction investment as variables affecting the economy's future growth. Park Jun-han, Arirang News.
As the first parliamentary inspection nears the end for the Lee Jae-myung administration, the foreign and unification ministries were under scrutiny. Our political correspondent An Sung-jin has the details.
The parliamentary inspection on Tuesday was under fire from the Foreign Affairs and Unification Committee regarding the government's handling of the recent Cambodia scam crimes. This comes amid rising cases of kidnapping, detention, and employment scams of Korean nationals in Cambodia in recent months, particularly the tortured deaths of a university student. Opposition lawmakers from the People Power Party questioned the government's lack of follow-up measures, saying that no one from the president, the prime minister, or the national security advisor had made a single phone call to the Cambodian embassy following the report of the student's death. The foreign minister apologized that there were some limits to their approach and reaffirmed the commitment to the lives and safety of Korean nationals living abroad.
Through the Korea Task Force team that will be launched in November, the South Korean and Cambodian governments will actively promote information sharing and investigative cooperation and work to resolve the pending 102 cases as swiftly as possible.
According to the Cambodian embassy, the total number of reports of employment scam cases and detentions was 386 up until September, with 90 from this year and 12 cases from last year unsolved. Foreign Minister Cho added that as the crimes were transnational and organized in their nature, a pan-government response was insufficient and that this can be a turning point to strengthen efforts. Meanwhile, the unification minister was also questioned regarding the coordination between South Korea and the United States regarding a possible U.S.-North Korea summit during the upcoming APEC Economic Leaders meeting.
Final decision lies with Chairman Kim Jong-un, but there are likely several strategic factors he's considering, whether it will be now or later, at Panmunjom or in Pyongyang.
However, he added that an announcement may take place through Kim Yo-jong if such a meeting is to take place. With little over a week left till the end of the Lee Jae-myung administration's first round of parliamentary inspections, lawmakers are expected to continue pressing the government on its policies across all ministries, from foreign affairs to national security and domestic governance. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
The temperatures fell below 0 degrees in many areas today, and the first frost and first ice were observed mainly in the center parts of the country and inland areas of Gyeongsangbuk-do province. Seoul also saw its first ice about 10 days earlier than last year. Without any cold wave warnings or advisories, the early winter cold will continue until tomorrow morning. The daytime temperature in Seoul will rise to 17 degrees Celsius, and the temperature will recover to the average for the time of year from tomorrow afternoon. Seoul will start off at 5 degrees tomorrow morning, Gyeongju at 3 degrees. Daily highs will rise up to 16 to 20 degrees all over the country. It will start to rain in central parts of the country on Friday night, then spread around the west on Saturday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That's all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.